welcome back to the video on speciation, and in this video we'll continue from where we ended last, right? And the first thing here we have to explain is geographical isolation. Well, let me just keep it a bigger thing so we can understand more clearly. So geographical isolation, right, which results to speciation. How does that happen? And we have to sort of recall these all points so that we can get full marks, right? So how will we recall them? We can the best way to recall such things is in a diagrammatical format, because our brains normally take in diagrams only. They don't take in text like this. So if you remember in text form, it will be very difficult and you might forget in the examination eventually. So it's better to draw for you a good diagram here so that you can sort of recall this diagram in the exam, right? Sorry, let me delete this first. Okay, and this one was not clear enough. Yeah, now I think I'll be doing it correctly over here. So let me just take the pen. Right, now species split into two populations by geographical barrier. So the first thing we have, or maybe we can yeah, okay, so we have these two species. There is this species, they are here, and then there is a barrier, and then there is another species here, right? And there is, let's say, a river here, right? So there are species here. So we have first thing, we have a barrier. Okay, we have a barrier. It can be geographical, it can be behavioral, any barrier, but there should be a barrier in allopatric speciation, right? There should be a barrier. Now, example of behavioral barrier can be maybe the food available, and so because of the food available they have to eat differently. Or like polar bears, right? Polar bears and the other normal bears, what happened is the polar bear moved to when they moved to the polar region, they had to only the one with the most fur developed, only the one with the most fur survived, and so the other ones were dead, and so on. So that they sort of, because of the they had to get adapted to the new behavior. It's not really a behavioral thing here, but then that's how it is. Like, we can get adapted. I mean, there can be a behavioral barrier. I guess you got that, okay? Then we have this selection pressures, right? Now there is different selection pressures. Here, let's say there is more raining here, more rain. Okay, here there is more rain, let's say. So these are selection pressures, and in this region, this is region A, this is region B, right? And in this region, okay, in this region we have more sun. Okay, we have more sun. There is this very sun, and different features selected. And so so the first point was a barrier. The second point is how the selection pressures, and the third thing is different feature selected, right? This is the third thing, different feature selected. So for example, over here, because it's raining, the one which can sustain coldness is selected for, and here, because it's sun, the one which can stay longer in sun is selected for. For example, camels will be selected for here. a certain type of camels which can survive longer. This is just an example, but that's what it is. The one with the strongest fur will be over here, and the one with the thinnest fur will be here, because it needs to lose its heat, right? And this one needs to keep heat inside because it's raining, it is cold and all that. Yeah, I understand that maybe rain is not always cold, but then we are considering a case where rain is cold. And then there is this change in gene pool. So what happens is there is the gene pool over here will change, because only those genetic constitution will be present which adapt to the, which are selected for the selection pressures. The features only selected according to the selection pressure present, right? So there will be change in gene pool. So we said three things, and the fourth one will be change in gene pool. And the time, and over time there cannot be interbreeding. So over time there is no interbreeding. So we have 5 terms to remember. The first thing is barrier, right? This is geographical isolation, but then normally we'll be asked about geographical isolation. Okay, then the second thing is selection pressure. Selection pressure, right? Selection pressure. Sorry, I guess it's too messy, but then you just listen to my words. Okay, different features selected. So what you should say is the different features, right? Different features selected, that's the third thing. And the fourth thing is, you should remember these terms, they're very important. Change in gene pool. Change in gene pool. Now what is gene pool? Okay, maybe you're confused about gene pool. Normally, for example, in Tanzania, we can say the community in Tanzania, right? Let's say there is this town. Okay, there is this A, B, C, D. These normally all are African people, right? And then we have this other people over here, E, T. There is an African here. There is E is an Indian, okay? And then there is B. So over here in these all they form their gene pool. Like let's say here there is a gene for Indian, okay, there is a gene for African, and there is a gene for African. There are 3 genes over here, but here they are only African genes. So the gene pool over here, have this for all these genes, and this is, say F is an Arab, right, for example, right? So over here there is also Arab gene. So there are more. The gene pool here is more diverse and all that, you can say. So that's the thing with gene pool. And then the fifth thing is interbreeding. So there is interbreeding. Interbreed. And what does that interbreed make you do? They are unable to interbreed. No interbreeding. That's the last stage. Okay, these and these eventually they can't interbreed because they become so different. Now in this thing there is one thing missing, I guess. Okay, how does this change in gene pool occur? There is one point missing over here, and I'm sorry I didn't realize, and hopefully you will see that. Very helpful. Maybe I should include it over here in these points. right? I should move this down a bit, and maybe I should remove this number 4. There is something. Is it different features selected? Yeah, changing gene pool. Now different features selected, but then there is something else over here. There is mutation occurring, and that's why there is mutation over here. Sorry, that's not supposed to be here. Yeah, there is mutation over here, right? And because of the mutation, and I guess this is what we can see in the other questions which explain, like here you see mutations occur, no gene flow, mutations occur, select different selection pressures. Okay, so different selection pressures. I guess this, according to that statement, the mutation comes over here, number 2. So we can keep that. But then, what you have to understand is some sort. It goes like, okay, maybe selection, mutation won't be here. Mutation should be the second one in the list, and and this one should come here, right? And this one, selection pressure, should come here. Mutation should come here. Is that what they want? No breeding gene interflow, mutations occur. So there is fair, yeah, change in gene pool, mutation. Now that's broad explanation, but then what I gave you first was enough for this. As we saw in this question, it was enough, but then in other question, it's not enough to mention just those things which I mentioned earlier, right? So let me just recorrect here. Oops, sorry. Yep. So we have a barrier, right? The first thing. Then the second thing, according to this, there is no gene flow, because there is barrier, there is no gene flow. There is no gene flow. I'm too rough, forgive me for that. There is no gene flow. No gene flow. And then there is mutation. And then there is different selection pressures. Now these 2 points, I left them in the first case because I didn't find them very different features selected, right? Change in gene pool, that was 5th one. Then 6th one, change in gene pool and no interbreeding, right? That's what happened. Different chromosomes numbers. Okay, so then we have this no interbreeding. That's what happens over here. Now this you can write them down in an order. But then the first one, the thing I gave you before was also correct. But then this is more detailed. This one is also a sequence because this one is required. But then they are missing these 2 things, so I just had to keep this. To add this so that you can get the whole picture and not lose marks anywhere. So it's best to mention the whole 7 points when you talk about speciation, when you mention geographical isolation in speciation. Hope that was clear, and I wish you luck to get. Okay, the reason, okay, there are little points because it's 3 marks, and in the next question we will see there are how many marks. There are 5 marks, so it depends on the marks. The marks will tell you how much you are supposed to write. Thank you for listening.